Welcome back to True Patina, everybody. My friend Andrew Shear obtained this 1965 Gilt Submariner from the original family of the owner, which was ironically from New Jersey, which is where I'm from as well. He had this watch. It was in very rough condition, but I thought that might make for a fun project. I could tell, even in spite of the condition, that the dial looked really charming. The lume plots were original. The hands were the original gilt hands, although they were quite corroded and in need of restoration. And the movement was in bad shape, as you'll see from the pre-test time grapher readout. I hope you guys enjoy a little look into the process of a complete restoration, mechanically and cosmetically, on this 1965 Gilt Submariner 5513. You wonder sometimes, how does a dial get wear like this on it? Usually this is a result of a combination of things like moisture, ingress, oils migrating to the surface of the dial, sometimes poor watchmaking in the past. So for instance, if the hands were set too low and they scratched the dial as they went around, well, I could see that that happened in a couple of areas. That's all stuff that may be able to be remedied, however. All right, let's look at the back of the dial. Singer, which is as one would expect. It looks good. There's not too much oil or residue on the back, which is really good. A lot of times I take these dials off and there's a ton of oil on the back side. It's actually a pretty charming dial, again, in spite of the issues. It's pretty charming. Okay, so now that the dial and the hands are removed, we are sort of safe. Really important cosmetic pieces are safely stowed, so now we can start to dive into the movement a little more. See what we're dealing with here. I'm just going to assume that this main plate will need bushings and the works, because this really was running terribly. These older 1500 calibers, some of the screws were blued where they are not on the later ones. Two of them, for instance, are found often on the crown wheel, and these are there. These are present, so that's cool. It shows that they're original to the watch. We have to be careful saying that everything's original to the watch nowadays, because really the only way to verify that with 100% certainty is to have owned the watch since it was brand new, and also to have done the services oneself. And since two of those things are probably never true, we only can use a informed degree of certainty as to originality. Okay, so now we have the exposed main plate. By itself, I'm just going to put the balance wheel and balance bridge back into the movement, prepare it for cleaning. This dial's got some issues. I think it's going to be an interesting challenge to see what we can do with this. What's cool is when you look at this, you see these sort of brown, reddish areas. That's actually tropicalization starting. So there's actually a little bit of this sort of brownness under this lacquer. So what might be cool, what might happen if we're lucky, is as we clean this, basically my hope is that we'll start to see some of that tropicality coming through a little bit. And you know, like right here, see, this is sort of like a bit brownish. So I'm hopeful that as we clean this, we might actually see some tropical tones to this dial, which would be really cool. Actually using my heartbeat here to paint. See the movement? I'm satisfied with those marks. Now let's go to the other side. So what I'm doing now, pressing the main plate onto the special chuck that holds it in place so that we can drill precise holes in the movement plate and install copper beryllium bushings, which will basically increase the performance of the movement by tightening up the hole that the great wheel and the barrel arbor interact with. Probably one of my more important tools, and certainly one of my more expensive ones. Is the center bushing. Now let's do a little bit of countersink on the back side of this rope. Just the smallest amount of countersinking. just to round it out, just to make sure. Basically, the Bob Ross of watchmaking is my goal. And just a nice little countersink. And we'll go ahead and install that center bushing. All right, let's go ahead and look at the microscope and see how we're looking. I'm actually okay with where this is right now. Looks like it's positioned well. All right, let's lubricate these jewels. Alright, let's go ahead and put the gear train in. Boom. Nice. One drop. So this is a little bit worn, which makes me wonder if I should bush this top one. So basically, take the workpiece and I flip it. What we're doing is trying to mitigate, where possible, the potential of ovalizing it or opening the hole in a non-linear sort of fashion. So the worst thing you can do is over broach, because then the part's just useless basically. So what we try to do is make sure that we test to see if we can fit the bushing, and if it doesn't go, then we do a little more until bushing goes nice and easily. But we are on our final stages on this piece. These hands look awful, and I'm definitely going to relume them to match the dial. They are the original gilt hands, and you can tell the original gilt hands in two ways. First is the hour hand is flat, as opposed to having a curve to it, which came later. And secondly is the minute hand has a slightly beveled edge around where the center post is. We're just trying to respect the age while still making them as presentable as possible. But some of this corrosion does need to go. Also, in 1965, there was sort of the transition between a gilt and a silver hand. So these hands are presenting as silver. It may be that they had been gilt at some point, just wore off with time and wear, Or it may be that this is the start of the silver hands. Either way, I may gold plate them. Every restoration is a challenge and presents unique issues that you may not have anticipated. This one, the dial did not clean up easily. I had to use a lot of different polishing compounds, a lot of different types of applicators and solvents to try to buff out the issues that were present. And it ended up coming out pretty good, but there were definitely some moments in that hours and hours of polishing that I was starting to wonder if I maybe bit off a little more than I could chew on this one. But actually, I'm really happy with how it all came together. And it's not a perfect watch, but it never intended to be a perfect watch. I intended to preserve as much of the originality as possible while bringing back the best condition I possibly could. The lacquer issues at 3 and 9 are still there. Under a high-powered loop, you're going to notice them, right? But at the end of the day, The important thing is how it reads and feels on the wrist. Also, the movement was a real big challenge. Turned out I needed to restaff the balance wheel. I needed to do some hairspring work. I had to rebush the center hole as well as the upper and lower barrel arbor positions, and holes rather, I should say. At the end of the day, my amplitude was not too terribly exciting. You know, it was a little on the lower side, but the reality is that my average rate and my delta were actually pretty tight. And so I knew that on the wrist, I probably wouldn't notice a lower amp. That said, you get to a point during a restoration where you start to think about diminishing returns. Sure, I could continue replacing parts and, you know, try to get this watch to function in the 250, 260, 270, 280 range. To me, even though that amp was lower than I would have liked, the reality is the timing is actually pretty good. And on the wrist, I've been wearing it for the past couple of weeks. It runs great. Also take into account how much of the originality you want to preserve mechanically as well, in the interest of creating a watch that functions as it should while still performing and looking its best. Another challenge that we ran into was getting this thing to pass a pressure test. A lot of times these cases, they were 316 steel. They didn't move to the 904 steel, which is less corrosive, until much later on. And so these 316 steel cases, depending on what kind of life they lived, would occasionally get corrosion around the rehaut crystal marriage area or around the case back and mid-case marriage area. And those holes, those micro holes within the metal itself, sometimes does impact and decrease the capacity for the hermetic seal to maintain itself. That said, once I was able to get a proper crystal sealant in that rehaut area, I was able to get it to seal up to 5 bar, which I was perfectly happy with. That's 5 atmospheres, which I'm not gonna go that far down with this thing. That said, everything really did, at the end of the day, come together nicely. It turned out that I had a period correct long 5 insert that looked really good on it. I did color match the hands as well as gold plated them. And as I mentioned earlier, 1965 was that sort of transitional year. Sometimes you see some hands with the silver color, which is, by the way, not silver and it's not white gold, it's a rhodium plating. And then some of the hands, the gilt hands, you also see with the gold plating. And I just think the gold plating on a gilt dial looks the most charming. I took some of the corrosion off, but I left some of that aging there, and it really works. It really looks nice. I hope you guys enjoyed a view in on this process. Again, big thanks to my friend Andrew Shear for finding this watch and selling it to me. And I'm excited to share this with you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video.